Midweek edition of Kenty Blitz. I'm Adam Peacock, next to Paul Kent. G'day, mate. How you going?
Mate, good to see you here. I will say, Adam, I'll tell you what, it's a bit of a hot seat you're sitting in. It is. It can get a little bit fiery and a little bit warm from the people out there. And I will say that actually, just the people out there, just in all honesty. Tom was doing the job. Tom's going to Melbourne for work, so we're looking and we've been using other people as essentially as you guys can offer me the time. So I'm very appreciative of you.
All good.
You stepping in today. So for all the haters out there, just send it to me and not to the guy sitting over here because I'm the one trying to find someone that can sit there a little bit more often than what we're finding now.
So what you're saying is that Tom is Lockie Galvin. He's decided to go elsewhere.
Yes.
Latu Fainu was here yesterday or the other day in James Phelps, and I'm Adam Dewey.
Yeah, well, I think so. Yeah, you're Mr. Consistent. Yeah, just Mr. We know what we're going to get out of you. So let's just work through that.
Mate, it keeps on rolling on. It's an extraordinary story, and today it evolves even more with Lockie Galvin.
It was. I wasn't planning to lead on it today, but it's starting to get very heated there now. Going to go nuclear, I think. The Tigers have come out and they've intimated that tomorrow they'll have a press conference, and it's going to be a press conference with the Chief Executive Shane Richardson, Coach Benji Marshall, captains Jerome Luai and Api Coruscant, which is the heavy hitters at the club. And they're going to come out and they're going to address all this Lachlan Galvin stuff. And now they're doing that at the same time that the Rugby League Players Association has said, mate, we're going to have a look at this. And they, to be fair, I think they should be having a look at it. Lachlan Galvin has been sent to reserve grade for the crime of telling his club he didn't want to sign a contract with them. That's all he's done. He's broken no rules. So for them to send him to West Magpies this week, I think it's clearly in breach of their duty as a club.
Yeah. I mean, Isaac Moses is going to have a word to say about it as well, his agent. And I don't know if this gives him ammo to say, look, guys, the only way out of this quickly is to just say, thanks very much, see you later, walk on. I don't know what time frame that plays out in, but it feels like it's the ultimate outcome.
I think it's the only outcome now. I don't think they can keep him there. I don't think he will want to stay there now. He came out and he was very gracious the way he accepted being told he was going back to play reserve grade in that statement. He said, I'll do whatever the team thinks we should do. But look, we've seen this before, Adam, in recent years. Players have had deals with clubs and things have happened where if they play, say, a 14th game, for example, it qualifies them for one more year's renewal on their contract.
The trigger.
Yeah, triggers that an extra year. But then what happens is the player will get to 13 and the coach will just find something wrong with his form and he won't play there again, so he doesn't trigger that extra year. But that's a little bit of a grey area because within that you could say, well, the coach can argue, well, I just didn't think he was playing well enough. But this is clearly in retaliation to what's happened this week. The club has actually come out and said, the leadership group said to us, we don't want him in the team. They're not allowed to do that. They are simply not allowed to do that.
It's PR, I look at it from that point of view. It's like, I get the decision might not be the wrong one to give him a week off, just go and play some footy elsewhere. It might not help the team this week against Parramatta, although they are playing Parramatta. But it's like, okay, take the heat out of the situation so he doesn't get booed by 30,000 people in a game. Yep. Eventually he'll get booed, but it won't be as, hot.
But they never presented it that way, did they? They didn't.
That's the thing.
Yeah. So, and this, I think this whole thing's just been mismanagement on both sides, but more particularly the Tigers. I think the Tigers have basically gone out and covered their asses. Okay, from the point of view of they got told last week and then confirmed on Monday that he would not re-sign a contract. He was going to wait till November 1, then he was going to go to market. If they'd waited till then, now most people I've spoken to around the game, managers and whatnot, have said, well, all they had needed to do was play that long game. Look, let's not have a conversation now. Let's wait till the season's over and let's have a talk. And then they could have got to the end of the season and they could have said, okay, we're not going to stay. We're going to go elsewhere. But what that would have happened, let's just look at the reality around that. What would have happened is as that November 1 deadline neared, people would have started to go, well, how come they haven't signed Galvin yet? How come you haven't got Galvin yet? Yeah. And the club would have had this secret in the back of their minds, well, he's already told us he's not going to stay. And then at that point, at some point, the club then would have had to say, well, no, he's actually going elsewhere, which would have been a blow up against the club. You're hopeless. Why have we got these wood ducks running the club? You know what I mean?
Wood duck, I haven't heard that one in a while.
Yeah. Why have we got these wood ducks running the club? And let's get people in there that can actually do the job. And the club would have, in the back of the mind, been going, well, we've known this since April, and we couldn't actually do anything about it. So I think they tried to, in some ways, I think they willingly sacrificed Galvin to save their own ass. I think they put Galvin out there knowing the backlash he would cop, but it would save them the criticism they would get later in this year when it would have then emerged that Galvin was leaving.
This club has been a gift to journalism, rugby league
For a
journalism.
long time.
For a long
Since
time.
inception.
It continues this week. I mean, but has this got a different twist to it? Is this them under Shane Richardson standing up and going, no, we're being someone else now. We're going to get on the front foot. We're going to get ahead of it, as you described it earlier this week.
I think they're trying to present it that way.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that they've a 19-year-old, I'll call him a kid, but a 19-year-old kid at the club, they've basically just thrown him out with the rubbish to basically protect their own reputations. And for whatever reason, they still haven't properly addressed that. It's come out one that he didn't want to be coached by Benji, that he didn't think he could go as far as he could go at the club. Okay, that's a tough pill to swallow if that's the truth. Okay. Yeah. I've heard people say that they're building this club around him. Not building a club around him. They're just building a better club. They've brought Luai in and Coruscant in, and he was part of the plan, but they weren't brought in specifically for him. So he was going to be part of the growth of the club. The club has done a lot to try and turn around. I would go as far back to the troubles really began when Ivan Cleary was coaching. He played overs for those 4 players who really went on and did nothing at the club. So he paid Russell Packer and the likes of that, Ben Madalino, if you remember.
Josh Reynolds played that as well.
Josh Reynolds was one of them. Yeah, Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds was one of them, and they paid, and their salary cap was all bent out of shape. At the same time, they let again with Ivan, they let 3 good kids go in Aaron Woods, James Tedesco, and Mitch Moses. That was the beginning of their troubles, and it's taken a long time to correct those problems. The club has not had the discipline as a committee to get their salary cap in order. It's finally beginning to happen. I think Sheen's coming back started that process. He started that, I think, originally with Hadj Mentalis and Pascoe. They started to get it right, but clearly those 3 aren't even at the club anymore. I think Shane Richardson has come into a club that's going much better than what it has been for the previous decade. But this is just a catastrophe, this decision. Yeah. It really is. I think the club's in a lot of trouble. I don't know how they get out of it because what they've done to Galvin, it's simply not allowed to happen. It is a breach of rules. That where it goes, we'll wait and see. But I just, to have the playing group. Look, for the playing group to come out and say that does not surprise me, and it does happen around the game. But when that happens, you've got to bullshit a little bit, if I can be honest, okay? Yeah. You've got to say, look, you let him play this week. You say, or you put him down this week and you say, look, he's had some real mental struggles this week with
it's been a big week.
With the backlash against what he's done. We're going to give him a rest and just get him away and let him go clear his head. Yeah. And then you could put him away for 1, 2, 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it takes. And you could even then come back and say, look, he's not playing as well as we thought, so we put him back to reserve grade then. And you can, look, it's not what should happen, but that's what does happen. Tigers, in some ways, just been too simple in their execution of all this, and I think they've got off a little bit on the fan support and this mountain of support from Tigers fans going, mate, get rid of him. We don't want him at the club, and they've reacted to that when it's as a experienced administrators, it's the totally wrong thing they should have done.
This story is so unique in historical context. I can't think of anything that's similar to happen. You've got a bigger library than me on it, but the thing about that is that you don't know where it's going to end or how it's going to end. No. That for me is the great mystery in what's been a pretty hectic 3 days. Is there anything similar? Like, I remember DCE at Manly, the senior players weren't over the moon with him because they had to take a cut, but it didn't.
They took pay cuts,
spin out of control like this.
Yeah. No, they took pay cuts back in the day. The Manly players, Glenn Stewart, Brett Stewart, Anthony Watmoe, those guys who were the senior established players at the club. Club had some salary cap issues. They took a cut to stay together, and Cherry Evans didn't take a cut.
Yeah.
So that basically began a blood feud that still goes today, to be fair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so and it has happened from time to time. I remember it didn't really get out, but the Canterbury era of that grand final in 04.
Couple of years after the cap.
Couple of years after the cap, a lot of all the squad except for one took a pay cut.
Yeah.
So they could stay together and potentially win a grand final, which they did 2 seasons later. But one player didn't, and he didn't finish his career at the club.
Yeah.
They sort of pushed him out. Other than that, if you talk about players turning on a teammate, probably Sonny Bill Williams is the only real big one because he so blatantly just turned his back on the club and walked out on halfway through a season. So he was never
literally left the country.
Literally left the country, they were filthy on him for doing that. But it doesn't happen a lot, and generally in these circumstances, players they'll sympathise with the player. They'll sympathise with their teammate. We can understand you taking more money. One, he's not taking more money. He's just leaving the club. That's where it's just a little bit uncomfortably with them. And two, it's his criticism of the club as in regard to his future pathways and his future progress that pisses them off. So there's been a couple of mishandlings there from his management by the way they handled it and what they've leaked. Well, certainly from what his side's been leaked. I actually thought of all the statements I've read, Galvin's statement was the most sensible and the most mature. And the fact that he came out and said, look, I told the Tigers now because I didn't want them to think I was going to stay here and plan that I'll still be here. I gave him time to go out and try and find someone else. Now, he did the right thing by the club.
You know how Isaac Moses rolls. Everyone, it seems, in rugby league knows how he rolls. He's a really tough negotiator. I wouldn't like to buy a car off him, put it that way, because I don't think I'd get the price I want.
No.
Where do you think
you drive off with a tricycle?
Unicycle, juggling. Where do you think he'll try and push this?
Well, look, I think what happened now is the NRL will have to get involved at some point with the Players Association because you just simply can't. It's a restraint of trade. It's a legal issue. The club could be in all sorts of problems. He signed there to play, and under the terms of your contract, there's a clause in there that you'll be picked on merit. That you will be. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So there is and he's clearly not. He's been put back to State Cup for that reason. Now they could have argued merit included mental welfare, and that's why. But they didn't even take that argument. They just said the players didn't want him here. No doubt Benji's pissed as well, and they've moved him on. So from that point of view, that's it. I just think it's going to be a legal issue now. Either West Tigers are going to have to eat a lot of humble pie, including the players, which I don't think they will. Okay, they might make suggestions to going to do it, but I just don't think they can come back from it now. And I really think they've got to push for a resolution before June 30 where we can get some sort of captain's dispensation to go to another club. Unless,
about the only place in Sydney you can watch Lockie Galvin for the next couple of weeks, it seems, is Lidcombe Oval.
Lidcombe Oval. Yeah,
no country for young men.
Exactly.
That joint, far out.
I used to love going there.
Did you?
Anyway.
I don't reckon Lockie's going to walk away with the same feeling.
No, I don't know. He's probably going to have a different experience than I did. So
that game for West Tigers is probably a game of mass intrigue, especially with Mitchell Moses returning on Easter Monday.
Yeah, Moses is back, which has got to give us a good look at where Parramatta's at. I know he's going to probably take some time to find his feet a little bit, but Parramatta have been a side all year where for the first 6 rounds, we waited for Dylan Brown to come out and show us why he's worth what Newcastle are paying. And aside from a couple of glimpses in only a couple of games, we haven't really seen it. But Parramatta fans have been specifically waiting for Mitch Moses to come back.
Yeah.
And look, hopefully you'll see what Jason Rolls is planning to do with the team. We'll see glimpses of it once they come back. But that's going to be a big day. Good Friday. We've got the Roosters and the Rabbitohs and the Bulldogs. Campbell Graham's going to be on Kenty Prime Time this week. So he's going to, before the game, talk about that, which I think is a massive effort from him.
Did he talk you through how he's going to, or is he going to talk you through how he's going to deal with Matt Burton bombs in front of 70,000 people at a core stadium?
No, but he did. Yeah, look, he does think that it's going to be it's going to be a bit of an experience playing in front of 70,000 people. That's an Origin crowd, and when you got two groups of fans like the Bulldogs and Rabbitohs fans who are both so passionate, it actually almost brings that Origin sort of hysteria to the crowd as well. So, it's got to be big. But it's just going to be a great weekend of footy this weekend, and obviously finishes off with the Eels and the Tigers on Monday.
Yeah, I was at that game last year. Lockie Galvin played okay, actually, in that one. And the noise at CommBank and that exciting finish was amazing.
Yeah.
But this Good Friday clash, are we getting along the proportion of a Anzac Day type kind of feel to it on a yearly basis? It's like mark it on the calendar, Good Friday.
I think so. Yeah, look, certainly the fact that the Bulldogs are going so well this year contributes to what the crowd expectation will be. But if you go back, the game, the rugby league is built on moments and rivalries and tribalism. And by one of the smart things the NRL is really doing with these these Easter weekends, is Friday is Rabbitohs Bulldogs, Monday is Tigers Eels, and you can start to go back, and this narrative builds of all the old games and all the old grievances that your side's committed against my side, and we're going to plan to get some back on you this week, and so it's the same groups of fans coming who've got the same biases and the same hatreds, and they're still pissed off about something that happened 3 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's brilliant, and I think it's well done the NRL for doing that. It's a really good strategy that they've come up with here, and it really works.
Penrith Roosters, I mean, not that long ago you're thinking top 4 contenders. Now you're looking at 15 v 16 going in. So Penrith, let's do a little dive on them about where exactly they're at. I mean, you could have their salary cap team up against their current team and it'd be a bloody good fixture in terms of who's going to win. The team, I say salary cap team, the team that's left, as opposed to the team that remains
I would
at
go
Penrith.
as far to say the team that's left Penrith would beat the team that's still at Penrith.
Even with Nathan Cleary still there?
Well, yes, because you know what, you got Nathan Cleary, and let's look at what's going to happen at Origin this year. They're going to lose Nathan Cleary, they're going to lose Liam Martin, they're going to lose Isaiah Yeo, and maybe Tyre. Now,
And Dylan Edwards.
Potentially as well. But outside of that, they're a pretty skinny roster in some respects. You know, they've got kids at various stages of their development, but none of them are anywhere near the peak of their powers.
Yeah.
Those guys are. But that old Penrith side that's left, you would have strength across the park in those teams. The team that you put together of all the guys that had to leave, Fisher Harris, Luai, all those guys that were forced out, Crichton, Burton, it's unbelievable, the team that you could put together there. And there's a lot of strength across that team. This team is not anywhere near as consistently strong through the positions. They've still got probably the top 3 or 4 in Yeo and Cleary and whatnot. But I think they've lost more than they've been able to keep, which is, it's a fascinating story.
Is there someone sitting in NRL headquarters with their arms folded, stroking their chin, saying, "Yep, the cap still works"? You
know what? It's funny, isn't it? Because I don't think the cap is properly administered. I think there's a little bit of how you're going everywhere. Not everywhere. Not every team's doing it, but certainly the better ones are. And I think what's happened is they are probably saying that. They are probably saying, well, this is an example and evidence that the cap is working. The funny part to it, which is the argument against the cap, is they've taken one of the greatest sides of all time and basically dismantled them. And whereas this side, you talk about the St. George Dragons from 56 to 66. Now, either side of that 11-run streak, South put together a mountain of premierships. The two greatest clubs for 20 years throughout that era were South and St. George. And there was something that was a selling point back then of just these champion sides. Come and watch these champion sides. Salary cap dismantles the champion sides. It's happened now to Penrith. That gives every other club hope, gives every other supporter hope. But you do miss that superstar sort of element, I think, to the game. It's like when boxing has a Mike Tyson as the heavyweight champion. Boxing just gets better. Rugby league's a bit the same. Melbourne filled that role for quite a while. Penrith have done the last 4 years, but I think they're gone now. I really admire what Ivan Cleary came out and said this week, about how they've got to come out and they've got to rebuild and all the rest of it. And I think he's really struggling to find answers to what's gone wrong at the club. I think he sort of knows in some respects, obviously, the people that have left, but their defence has just fallen away in ways that are un-Penrith-like. And defence is far more coachable than attack.
Yeah.
So that's why it's surprising that it's their defence that's really letting them down at the moment. They're just leaking points everywhere, and that's why you in one respect, it's probably a quicker fix too than their attack, because once if you get them all playing the right way, playing to what they need to do, that can happen fairly quickly once they get an understanding of it.
I remember watching them live a couple of times last year, and and it's happened a few times, especially when they go to Brookie. So I'm a Manly fan, but when like their first 3 tackles, Penrith went off the kick chase. They put so much effort to it that you notice that James Fisher-Harris sometimes didn't get back behind the advantage line when they got the ball back after 3-4 tackles, because they put so much emphasis on winning the field position battle. And this year, that pop seems to be a little bit vacant. Yeah,
well, and one of that's what Tyler hasn't been playing. He was just a great yardage winger off the kick return. Take that first hit up. And Penrith had this strategy they would do. They had winger hit up, Dylan Brown hit up, quick play. Dylan Edwards. Mate, there's so many Dylans in the world now.
It's a popular name.
It's like the 90210 days.
Yeah, that's right. Like that dude.
That's where I first got scarred by a Dylan, and it hasn't stopped since. But anyway, look, so Dylan Edwards comes in and very quick play the ball, which then allows maybe one more hit up or whatever, and just to set up their whole set. A lot of teams now copy that policy. They'll get the wingers doing it, and they try to get the quick play the balls to rush it through and win the set. But they're just gone, Penrith. I look at it this way. Everyone says no team's ever begun the competition 1-5 and won the comp. And so that's history against Penrith. What supports Penrith is no team's ever begun the competition 1-5 after winning the 4 previous premierships.
It's a good point. So it's still a mystery.
So we are in a little bit of unknown territory, if you want to look at it that way. If you're a Penrith fan, hold out hope.
I think with everything that's going to go on with Origin and everything that's happened so far in the first 6 weeks, it's a wonderful coaching achievement for Ivan Cleary if he gets them to the finals. And I know that sounds ridiculous.
From where they are now, I'm not sure. I think it's like 17 games left. They've got to win 12.
Yeah.
Okay, which, yes, they're capable of it.
Some without those host of stars.
Yeah, but they're going to lose Origin. They're going to lose players through Origin. So it's going to be tough.
What do you reckon of Nathan Cleary at the moment?
I think he's trying to. I think he's trying to play to a level that suits his teammates, which is not the level he's comfortable playing at, because he's usually 3 or 4 rungs above just about everybody. And he's always had players in place. The thing about Nathan plays a style where he plays what he wants to play, and there's guys that are just there. Like if he wants to, if he calls a play, the guys just know, I've got to be here, I've got to be there. There's so many new players coming into the team now, so many inexperienced players in the Penrith way coming into the team, that when a play gets called, guys are getting lost and they're not quite sure where they need to be, or they're not getting there in time or whatever. And Nathan goes and, whereas before he really didn't even need to look, he just knew that they were going to be there. Now he goes and, we saw it the other day, last week, he threw a pass and there was just no one there to catch it.
The touchy caught it.
But normally the winger would have been there to catch it. The winger just would have been there. He could throw that pass without. Now he's got to check to see if someone's there.
Yeah.
And before he could throw without having to check. All he had to do was watch the defence. That was his sole focus. Didn't need to look at his own side because he knew where players were going to be. Now he's going to have to check that. And that's sort of bringing him probably back a little bit. But that's just unfortunately how mortals got to play sometimes.
Roosters, they've got them this week. Just on the Roosters, Jared Warrior-Hargraves. There was a whisper around that he might actually come back in their hour of need if they were lacking up front. That wasn't going to happen.
It did go around, yeah.
But he's done with rugby league once this season finishes over there in England. Yeah,
he announced this week that he's playing for Hull Kingston Rovers. He's announced this week that this is going to be his last season, and after this he'll come back, won't be playing anymore. And I just really think well done. Like, this is a guy who played, I think it was Warringah Rugby Union. Was it Warringah or Manly Rugby?
Yeah,
Manly Rugby Union. One of them. Played rugby union there, came through, was identified, and just went on and just was the toughest son of a bitch on the field. You know what I mean? He was just that sort of guy. Well, my favourite story, I remember when he was at Manly Seagulls. And he only played 6 games at Manly's first season.
Yeah.
And everybody said, wow, this guy, he's going to be something. You could see a little bit of potential in him. And Jeff Tuvey was coaching Manly at the time, and poor old Tuvey, not much went right for Tuvey when he was coaching Manly.
No.
And he said, look, we're in the conversations with him, and we're having a chat about, re-signing him, thinking he's going to go, maybe we want you. And they're telling him everything you'd want to hear as a young player, he's hearing. And then he said, mate, he drove around, he had this beat-up old car that he said it was such a shitbox. He said the car had been painted with a paintbrush. You know what I mean? He bought the car, and someone had painted the car with a paintbrush to just try and give it a bit of
British paint.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what they've done. And so anyway, he's in a discussion with him about signing and re-signing at Manly, and he said, mate, I knew we lost him the day. He said he was in his car and he drove out the car park. And he said, and the next day he came back in a brand new Ford Falcon, and he got out and said, I was just signed with the Roosters.
City Ford says yes more often. Uncle Nick sorted him straight away.
Oh, look, I'm sure it's on the cap. I'm sure it was on the cap. But he just said, when I saw him driving in the car park the next day in that brand new Ford, which was a real smick paint job, no doubt. He said he knew he was gone then. And I tell you what, he was a warrior. I love the Warriors, Adam, in the game. The guys that just get in the middle. And, that image last year of Jado H walking off, I think it was the Anzac Day game, just covered in blood and the crowd just getting up behind him. That was just one of those magic moments in the game. And, for someone like him, I reckon that memory of that is as magical as just standing on the dais grand final day.
Yeah.
Because that is just pure, unadulterated admiration from his fans for everything he's done for them. And he gave them, 17 years at the Roosters, or 16 years at the Roosters, 310 games, club record, won 3 premierships.
Yeah.
So well done. It's really nice to see that he's going to retire and put such a career behind him.
Yeah, and you look at the modern day Roosters, and even his last year, you heard Trent Robinson speak about when he was suspended, which happened to be pretty regular occurrence with Jared Toy, but he never hammered him because he knew that, okay, well, I'm going to lose him on the pitch, but I'm still going to have that accountability setter through the week. And are the Roosters missing someone like that as we look ahead again to the Panthers game? Or?
I'll tell you something else. I remember 3-4 years ago, and remember the old days that Joey Johns would get injured, and everyone, they do a little bit now with some players. Joey Johns would get injured, and everyone pull out how much their winning percentage drops without him in the side. They do it now with Kalen Ponga. But the most significant player at the Roosters, as far as their win percentage when they were playing and their win percentage when they were not playing, was Joe Warrior-Hargraves.
Yeah.
That was the biggest drop from here for winning down to there when he's not playing, which I think as a front rower shows you how important he was to that club.
So Campbell Graham is your guest for prime time.
Yeah.
Johnny Elias is in as well.
Johnny Elias used to coach him in under 16s, I think. So.
Oh yeah,
that'll be interesting. Yeah,
he made it because of Johnny. There he is.
Yeah, so they can share Wayne Bennett coaching stories. So we'll see how that goes.
Excellent. You'll be back with Kenty Blitz with I don't know who's going to sit in this seat.
I don't know.
You'll find out when you rock up.
I just might come and just find your charred remains here tomorrow, depending on what happens on the comment section. But we'll find someone. Look, I tell you what, it's a brave person that steps in, so let's see how it goes.
Hey, nothing to lose. That's the main thing. Thanks, Kenty.
Thank you.